Captain's log, stardate episode 6. Okay. Get rid of my keyboard tray as always so I can get a little closer. Unfortunately, I will be using I have to charge my little wireless headset because I was irresponsible and didn't plug it in last night or yesterday. I guess it was in the morning. It's feeling a little better, but I still think I'm lacking a little focus. But that's okay. So we finished up the capitals. We did the small caps. Now we're on to numerals. Ooh. Um, Again, interesting historical notes. Always kind of nice to see. Um, Maybe not directly impactful to the writing, but as you go down the rabbit hole, you'll find yourself more interested in that. Okay, let me grab a sip of coffee. It's it's about 0650 right now. Hmm. I usually get up around 0400, but been sleeping in a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Start with the 0. Again, using the Lamy pen, the Safari. I'm taking to it. I was used to those Pilot pens. Excuse me. Now, the one doesn't have a serif or any kind of tail, which I think I generally do, simply because L, I, all that stuff looks the same. Uh, if you'll notice here, they're having us do a 2 without a loop. As you'll see in this, they're kind of anti-loop, and I get it. I used to do the 2 loop. I got taught um, the Danelian round hand, but the loops. 3's one of those. It's kind of like the B, those compound curves. I find them just one of those interesting things where you really got to do your curves. Curves I find hard. I mean, both lines and curves are hard. Or 4. Which do I do now? I used to always do this. I've been moving to that. Here's the one for me that was, I think, a bit of an awakening. I used to do my 5s like that in one fluid stroke. Well, fluid in one stroke. Uh, and what I think it did is it eventually turned them into S's. With this, actually, excuse me, have you do a downstroke and then a crossbar. Uh, and I think it does. Maybe it slows you down. Does it slow you down? I suppose. But slow is smooth, smooth is fast kind of thing. 7. Now they have, if you notice, even there they have a little dot there. Uh, and so I always have kind of that little serif, but I do put that there. Um, I think it delineates things better, especially if you start getting into those kinds of things where it gets a little out of the way. And admittedly, I just think it looks nice. And that's okay. It took me a long time to be okay with things looking nice. Even if didn't have a raw functionality. Finding that line, which is weird because a little bit of a death grip, just getting started this morning. I think overstretching, I don't know if overstretching is such a good idea either. I think working within that range of motion is tap, tap, tap. I guess it's weird because I don't think I'm particularly functional either. And I think people who are efficient, no wasted motions, no undue ornament. Excuse me, still coming off that cold a little bit. In their basic technique and kind of their foundational techniques that are practical, they then have room for a little style thing. I think if you start off with if you start off with your style thing, then you have nowhere to go, and you put too much overhead on that. Oof, that's kind of everywhere. Practice both. I like to be ambiphoric, if that's a word. Now we're down to the kind of smaller versions. Ooh, that was not good. I'm all over the board on that too. It's just going to be a tough morning, but I'm here. I'm putting in the time. We're about 5 minutes in now. Excuse me. Being that this is pretty sparse, and that, but I do like that. I just like the way it looks, and I do find it makes it a little clearer. I also tend to put in my native writing, put the slash the zero so that it doesn't appear as an O, but that comes from computer coding back in the day. Ooh, especially on terminals where these days the graphics are so good and first proportional spacing and all that. There is a difference, but not so much back in the day, I tell you. Okay, we're gonna move on to we got some lowercase caps with the letters, mixing it up, just getting a good feel for it. Three stroke, and you can put your own off color joke in that. That's not for me. And I am a little off. Again, I think for practice, it's good to, since you've got a nice example piece, to just get right under it and follow its spacing example. Like, look how far off I am on that spacing. Not terrible. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but they're using a little more spacing, it looks like. So I'm going to go right back in to right below it. You know what? Ooh, my spacing is more compact. That must make me better, right? Yeah. Then I make an S like that and blow the whole show. And funny, I've worked with Japanese people before, like a really good um, diver I knew, a life scientist. And the interesting thing is, she was showing me, since she would write all her notes in, I guess it was kanji, or did she do katakana? I think just kanji. But she mentioned that the Japanese pens, at least they tend to be one size finer in terms of a Japanese fine will write more like a European extra fine. And she mentioned it just because when she's doing her characters, no, I'm sorry, this is not to be offensive. I have no Japanese, but just to give kind of an example, that her, uh, lettering would be really small. There'd be more strokes per unit uh, font, I guess you could call it. Um, they needed a finer tool. She needed a finer tool, and it seems like that was common. Again, it's uh, I've had one or two people mention that, so grain of salt there, because I am certainly no linguist. But I thought it was interesting, and it does seem like some of the Japanese. Now I don't know if all the Japanese, like made for the um, European markets, have that, but something to be aware of. Oops, a little off there. Now, if you notice, they didn't do any stroke order or introduce any new things, because the Roman numerals still just the letters X and I without a dot. So, and I'm all over the board on that. And L and C and D, which all comes from the Latin words cent and des and mil and all that. So they're kind of short for that. space. So they are just letters. Kind of funny, Braille has that, excuse me, where there aren't that many symbols in Braille, and so there's extra dots to tell you. Uh, I think like there's the first 10 characters that sort of works in like banks. Like there's another dot, like A through J are all unique, and then they repeat, but with a dot to tell you, oh, you're on uh, bank number 2 of the letters, so that the next, K and A, I believe, are similar except for the dot. Well, they've got a funny thing with the letters. You've got almost, and again, I know very, very basic stuff, um, but you kind of turn on like a numlock, like, oh, we're doing numbers now, so the characters will be numbered until you kind of turn off the numlock, as far as I understand it. Just a beginner, and my fingers have sometimes trouble feeling the dots. It's another thing maybe I'll explore. It's I think this is getting me back into writing and communication, um, all various forms, typing, braille, drawing, drafting. I think especially to communicate ideas. Um, but those are grand visions. And right now, whoa, I'm way off because again, I usually do my 4 that way, but I don't want to be constrained. I want to be able to do both. So I did a little correction there. Is it going to throw me off on the spacing? Sure, but my spacing hasn't been great anyway. So take that. Notice there they do use the period. Hey, look, we're back on because of my incredibly compact writing style, which is a lie. I'm a fraud, I tell you, a fraud. I don't like that spacing, but I don't like that. Ooh, I'm judgmental today. I probably need to maybe drink coffee first before I do this. But it's a big day, so I really don't like that D, so I'm going to do it again. I don't like it's too smiley facey, and even that's bowing in, but I did a good faith correction, so now we'll move on. Don't let it, don't let it trip you up. It's an interesting line to be aware and analytical of your mistakes, to be willing to accept that self-criticism, but to not have it get you down and have that be destructive. Okay, I am getting a death grip. Notice there I did close that R. There R looks a lot more stylized. So I think that's a constant puzzle, though. It's funny in other kinds of training. I've had people, you're overthinking it, and like, don't get down on yourself and stuff. Well, just because I have a list of performance traits that I didn't, that I wanted, but for that I didn't execute. Um, and I can see that in daily life when it's my person, but when it's a work piece, uh, then I'm okay with it. It's the work piece, and it's the performance of that uh, I'm talking about. So I don't internalize it, but it kind of helps me process uh, things. Now I find doing that a debrief is fine uh, because what can happen in the middle. Now you saw me breaking this again. This is a puzzle, so I'm not giving advice. I'm musing. I'm not giving you any advice because I don't have any because I'm not good at this stuff yet. Um, uh, but during execution, I think you can get into the um, habit of uh, if you try to correct your problems, like during this kind of whole execution, uh, I think what can happen is you can find yourself concentrating on the mistakes and sort of drawing yourself into the mistakes and losing the rest of your technique. Where I think in certain ways, kind of like you say about mountain biking, don't look at the rock you're trying to avoid, look at the path you're trying to go on. Don't draw yourself into what you're trying to hit. Or in golf, if your golf swing, if you've got a problem with your golf swing and you specifically try to fix that, sometimes your whole swing will fall apart. Um, where within a full execution, I think there is kind of a benefit to just concentrate on your right moves, concentrate on the whole thing, doing the right moves instead of trying to correct a specific thing. Uh, so that you're not just concentrating on one thing and to the detriment of the whole project. Uh, that being said, I think there's times for practicing in isolation. It's like, oh, I'm going to fix my D or what have you. When you're concentrating specifically on just that portion, um, and it's just a different type of exercise. The hows and the whys. That's I think that's one of the puzzles. Like up here, I did break stroke a couple of times to do that. It's just how I'm feeling right now. Um, Man, it'll be better when I'm out of my head, huh, guys? Yeah, we actually haven't had any punctuation beyond a period yet, I think. And notice to express that, I actually stopped writing, which I think has some advantages too. But I hope it didn't ruin the flow. Though I am flow free today. Sometimes taking a minute to stop talking. 2012. Uh, I'm a day, month, year guy myself, but I've used to work in international environments where the euros and pretty much everybody else likes it that way. And I think it makes more sense. I honestly do. Oh, another symbol. Look at that. That's just a and a point. Other places they'll use a comma. They have a sort of reversed comma for decimal and full stop period for between your thousands. Ooh, look at this. We're so Euro. We're using centimeters and kilograms now. I'm going to try this for. Why? Because I can. It's funny though. You notice when I'm not talking as much, it does flow better. Sometimes I just do that just to note it. You certainly don't have to practice the way you practice. It doesn't get me down. I think it helps me to note it as I can say to myself that I'm taking active steps to correct it. I'm noting it, and that's I figure that as an active step. something you hit that. Uh, and I'm just noting it that I'm doing that. Now, breaking the flow, there's something to be said for that. It's like with music, they say, drop the note when you hit a clam. You drop the note, but never drop the rhythm. Uh, and that makes sense. I think we've seen uh, kids play and they will stop and have to start over, uh, or change speed. All of a sudden, the hard part they go slow. Uh, that's where I kind of figured play the whole piece as slow as the slowest part so that you don't have that wavering, so that you don't drop the rhythm. And it becomes an interesting, and I want to say mechanical feel. And um, I think that may give a missense that I mean, um, without feeling. But what I think it is it's more of paying attention to the mechanics of the piece, like this. Like we want to be the thing is, I'm not a machine, and I'm not going to be a machine, and I'm not going to be as good as a machine at this kind of stuff. In that, here I am. While I'm trying to concentrate on consistency, be consistent, and make those pretty even eights, which I just did not do. Um, the variation will creep in, and the expression will creep in naturally. So me concentrating on being with the consistency part uh, doesn't make it inhuman. It just neatens it up because I'm never gonna be that mechanical anyway. It's actually just keeps it from being messy. I will go ahead. I will be expressive anyway, just by the nature of it. A little advice on the question mark might be nice. Ooh. And it's nice since we're handwriting, we can actually make the quotes open or close how we wish. Hyphen and a dash. And then there's the M dash. There's also the bigger one. Oh boy, punctuation is a whole thing. Which I think is actually kind of neat. I mean, maybe that's me getting older. I was okay with like diagramming sentences in school and stuff. And I think being able to do definitions and things is good. Um, being able to structure, and I guess it's that same thing, being able to structure being able to um, structure your speech and your writing and expression is a good thing. Because then you can do with it what you want. You're in command of it. Or if you can't, it's the old you need to know the rules to be able to break them sort of thing. It's like, um, wow, we're at 23 minutes. I was talky today, wasn't I? Whew, feeling a little bit in the lungs. So some interesting stuff here writing, and it's like they discuss a little bit uh, the ampersand and whatnot. So I think that's worth checking out. Um, Not a whole lot on the writing itself. Uh, so that's it for today. Ooh, look at this. We get to move on now that we've got kind of a whole complement of characters. We get to practice tomorrow, just kind of whole language writing. Um, well, a little over today, a little over 20 minutes. But again, I stopped and waxed poetic. So it was good, though. It was good. And I hope you have a great day.